call this meeting to order at 5:30. The roll call, Council at Large Boots. Here. At Large Spear. Here. Council Ward number 1 Leaper. Here. Ward number 2 Anderson. Here. Ward number 3 McNeil. Here. All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Starting off with the agenda, are there any additions to the agenda? Seeing as there is none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Boots with the first. Second. And McNeil with the second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leaper?
Yes.
McNeil? Boots?
Yes.
All right, moving on to the communications. This is the unscheduled portion, so if anybody wants to address the city council, please make your way to the podium and state your name and address for the record. All right, seeing that there is none, we'll go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. These can be passed with one motion. It consists of the city council minutes from May 23rd and the April library board minutes.
Mayor, I would just like to make a note on the minutes. The seminar that SEDCO is having, they have down in the minutes on June 10th. That should read June 18th.
Okay.
So I would make a motion we accept them with that change.
Right.
And I'll second.
So Boots with the first and Spear with the second.
Spear?
Yes.
Leaper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes. All right, then moving to the next one, which is a public hearing. Is there a motion to open the public hearing on the ordinance, or ordinance number 556? Spear with the first.
I'll second.
And Boots with the second.
Leaper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
All right, so now the public hearing is open. And Mr. Long, if you wouldn't mind explaining what the ordinance would be.
Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance is from a model ordinance from the state that allows municipal police agency to either ask to leave or arrest anyone who would protest or disrupt a funeral service or procession of the sort of disruption that's occurred around folks from a small church near Tipton, Kansas, who have made it their business to go around disturbing funerals. And this provides the law to intervene in that sort of protest. That, in a nutshell, is the ordinance.
All right. Is there any questions or comments or discussions? Or just one discussion? Okay, and then seeing if there is none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Spear with the first and then Anderson with the second.
Leaper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
All right, so now the public hearing has been closed on that ordinance, and we move on to the first reading of the ordinance. Is there a motion to approve the first reading of this ordinance?
I'll move.
Leaper with the first. And McNeil with the second.
McNeil? Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear? Leaper?
Yes.
All right, so the first reading has passed, and there needs to be two more, correct? Two more readings, and the next one will be scheduled for the next city council meeting.
Yes.
All right, then to the resolutions for approval, which is the 2-year bargaining unit contract with the local union. Do I have to move, Joe? Or do you?
I'll open the conversation and my request. As you recall, back on February 1, the council approved the council and the bargaining unit approved a tentative approval of contract terms contingent upon getting incorporating the findings from the Verisight wage study for the job classifications and pay scale appendix. I will repeat my memo because I think it is noteworthy that this is the city's first significant effort establishing a job classification and pay scale based on analysis of comparable positions, and I think it's a real worthwhile effort. And it takes time and trial and error to get these things done and bringing some rationale for pay and job determination. So there's nothing like putting things down on paper to find out where the wrinkles still remain. We found two of them having to do with the layout of the pay scale that is Appendix A on page 17. I did meet and speak with union representatives and union's agent on Friday, and also spoke with the city's attorney and Pat Callahan, along with those folks, and came to the conclusion that rather than trying to sort something out on the floor that is probably nomenclature, we would turn this back over to the city attorney, Holly Corkery, Pat Callahan, the relevant department heads, and with the consultation from the personnel committee that was involved in the contract agreement, just to final out these couple of issues. So I'm open to questions on this, but my recommendation will be to table this until June 20th.
All right. Is there a motion to either approve or table this?
I believe we table.
All right, Anderson with a motion to table it, and then Leeper with the second.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
All right, so this has been tabled until the next one?
Correct.
Until the next city council meeting.
Thank you.
All right then, down to letter L on the agenda, which is the motions for approval. The first one is the claims list. Is there any items anybody would want to pull out from that? And if there are none, is there a motion to approve the lists?
I make that motion.
Boots with the first,
I'll second.
Spear with the second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil? Boots?
Yes.
All right, so the claims list has been approved. Next up is the engine generator set replacement authorization. Lloyd,
Okay.
am I taking the podium this week?
Thank you, Mayor. Council. What I want to talk to you about this evening is the options that we have here in front of us. I tried to email everybody out the stuff before the meeting, and then if you didn't get it, I brought you all the stuff. I'm going to first talk about the Fairbanks Morse engine. Everybody knows that we had problems with it. It's been down for going on a year. If you'll look at the quotations from Fairbanks Morse and the email that I got from him today, which that should be on the very front, the email that I got. They've got 2 items that would require some expediting on their part. Part of the items are 1 and 2 piston kits, and item 9 is the proportional damper. And we would have to order everything by the 10th of June, and they would need to deliver by July 25th, and they're even saying that themselves, in order to get this done in time. What the $300,000 does not include is I had an estimate from Exterin. They talked once about taking the blower off and doing repairs on it for $75,000, because there is a question about the blower. And then the other $52,000 is going to be for Midwest Erectors to fix all the problems that we have in the basement of the existing power plant. So that brings the total up to $427,000. And part of the issues in the basement in the power plant we're going to have to address. 3 of them are safety items, and those are what we call the accumulators for the natural gas. They're homemade items. They're not a pressure vessel. They were never made to be a pressure vessel. So, and that's only, and that $52,000 from Midwest Erectors is only for fixing the OP. That is not for fixing the other 2 engines that have these same problems. But at any rate, we're going to concentrate on the OP. So basically, a rough estimate amount is going to be $427,000. And that's to put it all back together, test run it, and get it online. I don't know how long the blower is going to take. Bill Hilger said that he could be here when we gave him the go-ahead, probably in 2 weeks. I would add 10% to any of these estimates that I'm going to be giving you for incidentals and unplanned expenses. So it would make the OP engine about $469,700 is what I think would be a fair estimate to come up with for the money spent. But I also think that if given the option that we don't repair it right away and that we wait, I think the help, and myself included, we could save a minimum of $50,000 to $75,000 in labor and some other things by being able to pick and choose what we wanted to buy. Because right now, this is just, somebody's going to walk in the door and they're going to, boom, this is what it's going to cost. There's some things that we can put the reciprocating assembly back together. We pretty much, for our own part, we took it all apart between myself and my employees, and they're up to the task. The one thing that does need to be rebuilt is the vertical drive. I don't even know if they're quoting that. I did not see any vertical drive components in this list. So, with the Fairbanks, it's still a viable option. I don't think that we need to pull it out of the building by any means. I think it's one of those ones that we want to sit back and maybe take a look at and say, hey, we still want to fix this, but we want to take our time. Are there any questions about the Fairbanks unit?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Assuming they do all the work, there's a warranty? Are they going to warranty their work? Have you heard about?
Yes.
What would that warranty be?
It would be 90 days.
90 days warranty if they do all the work?
If they do all the work, yeah. I might be able to get a year out of them, but they talked that it's only going to be 90 days.
Right.
So, yes.
That's interesting. One time, some time ago, I heard during the course of all this discussion on generators, something about one of the generators had some vibration or something in it, or or some noise or something?
This generator, when we would try to get load onto it, we try to get past 1.5 kW, or 1.5 megawatts, I'm sorry. The engine would start to vibrate the building.
Okay.
And so then we didn't know what was going on, but we would shut it down, try to troubleshoot some more, and then in the meantime, did we change the oil before or after we realized it didn't have oil pressure?
We changed the filters.
Or changed the filters?
When it didn't first have oil pressure, we
Okay.
changed the filters and then tried it again, and it still didn't have any oil
Okay,
pressure.
that's right. Yeah.
So,
Because the engine sat for, what was it, 4 months, 3 to 4 months before we put it all back together. And from the time that we ran it last to the time that we put it all back together to get it running again, for for some reason it didn't have any oil pressure, and we don't know why. We still don't know why to this day.
Well, are you pretty sure that you're thinking then the vibrations came from the engine rather than the generator?
Yes.
Thinking,
Yes.
so the generator.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, the engine I think is the problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
And looking back at the electrical utility study that we had, when, what was his name?
Bob Latham,
Yeah.
cost of service study, yes.
Yes. Would we still be looking at about $62,000 a year in credit to
Yes.
get that number one going?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now moving on to the Caterpillar. The engine itself is $467,000. But that also includes a standard 2-year warranty. The generator set includes the loading, the offloading of the unit. Their 2-year platinum level warranty with no deductible. The diesel oxidation catalyst and the silencer package. It will also come with a new set of controls, which we wanted. The building sound attenuation package, which we will need for that building. And if we want to, we can buy 2 more years of this same warranty for $9,100. Is that correct, Dave? Yeah. For 2 more years, and it'll still be a 0 deductible warranty. And if you go through this, you'll see that Climate Engineers is the ones doing the work for the attenuation package. And then there's some options back here on the back. The upgrade from the warranty, which was $9,100. And then option number 2, the proposal from Climate Engineers for the housekeeping pad under the discharge and the frost footing base under the generator exhaust stack. So that's an extra $10,200. And then the proposal from Climate Engineers to provide the exhaust and the vent piping, the structural supports, the insulation, and install all these items along with the muffler and the diesel catalyst of $44,820. With all of that said right there, with options 1, 2, and 3, and that's with the 2-year extended warranty, adding 2 more years to it, would be $531,740. So then we have to come to, there's some other things that are included that we will have to do. One of them is we will be using Shermco Engineering Services for the SCADA system and some of the drawings and many of those items for the mechanical and the electrical installations and some of those items. And then this engine will be able to start up just like the 2 MTUs right now, go online parallel with them and pick up the town load. And then after Shermco, there will be the DNR permitting and the stack testing, which was quoted by Power Plant Compliance, whom we've worked with in the past. I'm budgeting $15,000 for that because I'm not exactly sure where we're going to bounce out at on a couple of items here. The DNR in the past, if you've read the letter, we have to give a 60-day notice. We have to provide the catalyst controls to reduce the CO by 70% of carbon monoxide. That's going to cost about $7,000. The DNR, if the DNR requires us to do a NOx emission test, that's going to be another $3,000. So I'm figuring $10,000 for this, and then another $5,000 for the construction permit and any other permitting that the DNR is going to get us at. So, and then the Actera group, which they're the heart and blood of this whole situation, they will be quoting a little over $80,000 for fuel system skid upgrades and stuff like that in the existing power plant so that we can pump fuel from the tanks that are in the parking lot at City Hall over to that building. We had some issues in the past with the old system, but Tanya and I did some troubleshooting and we figured out what it was. I'm confident that the new system that they're proposing to feed 3 generators will work and we should have no issues. After everything is said and done, a rough price is $681,740. But that does include a lot of new things being done. It does put us in the position that today would be more advantageous because we can carry our load, and I think we can get this unit online quicker than we can the Fairbanks. I really, truly do. But other than that,
when I asked about the credit for the Fairbanks Morris, is there
there will be a credit on this one too.
Is it
this
comparable?
This one will be slightly less. It'll be about $58,000.
okay?
But it gets us to the point where we can't cover our load. It'll be close.
Mm-hmm.
So how soon would we expect those credits to come? Once it's installed, or do we have to?
No, I've got to wait for the MISO study to be finished, which, do you remember approving that here about
And
2 months ago?
Yeah.
And did we say that could be up to a year?
Possibly. They're hoping 6 months. Sometimes it moves through pretty quick, sometimes it doesn't. So they told me to plan on the worst, it could be up to a year. I know I went through that kind of fast, but
You're gonna decide on both of them?
no,
Or just one?
just one.
One or none.
Yeah. And what if we don't do anything?
If we stay at the status quo, there is a possibility that we could start losing a little money.
Because I think you said before too, possible brownouts or blackouts on those tops.
As long as we stay connected to the entire grid, we don't have any issues.
Okay.
But if for some reason there's a catastrophic event and it took out the transmission line, right now, if it gets to 95 this weekend, I doubt that we could carry the town. What do you think? Nope. Nope. So if something did happen this weekend, let's say, we can't carry the town. We'd have to have rolling blackouts.
Oh, Floyd, I don't know if I got lost somewhere in the shuffle here, but we added option 1, 2, and 3, which brought us to about 531. And then we went to Shermco, and I estimated that about another 120.
No, 55.
Oh, okay, what, 60, 55, and 5? I don't add all those together.
Yeah, and then there's another 15,000 for the permitting,
Right, I got that.
and then another 80,000 for Actera, who will be doing the fuel system, or who would be doing the fuel system.
Okay, I was just adding too much under the Shermco.
And it comes out to 681,740. And if you take adding the 2 more years platinum warranty coverage off of that, that gets it down to about 670.30.
And if we were to approve the Alta4 solution, what's your timeline for fixing the Fairbanks Morris?
I would address that probably starting in the next budget year. That would be my plan, would be to start addressing it then. I think that the biggest thing would be is to get the vertical drive set off, get it rebuilt, and see how much money I could scrape together, and if I could buy pistons and liners, I would try to get the reciprocating assembly back together and kind of see where we're at money-wise, and then say, well, it's going to have to sit another year until we can muster up the rest of the money to get the testing done and some other things.
Tim, I have a question. Was it verified by bond counsel that we could use reserve funds?
He gave me a backhand, yes, I think so, but he's not going to be able to get back to me on it specifically until tomorrow morning. But those are that $1.3 million in reserve fund is for the purpose of system maintenance, repair, and improvement, so that the entire system can continue to operate. That's my lay reading of the bond covenant. But I'm waiting to hear from Mr. Danos tomorrow morning.
So this would fall under improvement?
Maintenance.
Both?
Yes.
Yeah, this would be a new.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So I guess I'm hearing you say that's your recommendation, go with the CAT and keep the, or the Fairbanks and piece it as we.
I'll do whatever you tell me to do.
Well, I guess, I would like a recommendation.
My recommendation would be to go with the Caterpillar for a lot of reasons. Most of our load is based on that side of the system, where that building is now. I think it would benefit us more right now there than the OP would. The OP has to generate through another transformer to step it up to get it to work at the system voltage that we have in the majority of the town. There's probably, it's not a lot, but it's 3 to 4% of losses by just doing that. The day will come where we're probably going to eventually have to decide what we'll do with the old power plant. What was that?
Somebody blowing upstairs.
Okay. But I think that the OP and the CPs do have a future. The money has been spent on the upgrading of the exhaust systems on all 3 of those units for Rice NESHAP and EPA compliance. And I sure wouldn't, after the money that's been spent there, I couldn't in good conscience tell you to get rid of them unless we had catastrophic. I mean, when I say catastrophic, like a piston sticking out the side of the block. But in good conscience, I can't tell you to cut them up today. I just don't see the purpose of that.
I guess on the credits we receive, we would have to apply for the CAT, and it could be up to a year before we would receive that money. The OP engine is already credited, so once it's running, we still would be in line to get that money, right?
Yes.
What are the chances of us not getting accredited for the CAT?
I would say that's probably slim to none that we won't get it. I would say that we'll get it. Right now, I certified the plant with the MTUs, and that's where a little bit of the issue resides with the DNR and permitting. I haven't exceeded the hours, so I haven't violated the permit, but we could, and that's not the position I want to be in, but that's how I certified the plant, was by using the MTUs and putting the metering package on those. So, like I say, we haven't violated the DNR permit. We have just, working under those hours, doing that way. Sure, no problem.
So the cost difference between the two, 150,000?
Approximately.
So we get a 4-year warranty with one and 90 days for the other?
Mm-hmm.
Like a 4-year warranty.
Well, actually, we get a 2-year warranty, but if we want to upgrade it to another 2 more years for $9,100. And it'd still be a zero deductible warranty after the first 2, right? Yes.
Is this something we would decide tonight, or do we need to know if we have the bonded money?
I would, this guy right here from Fairbanks and Northmore said that we need to order by June 10th.
That's- So that we'd have to decide tonight.
I suppose you could come to a determination contingent upon an okay in writing from bond counsel.
I would feel more comfortable with that.
Yeah, because really to put that kind of level decision on staff without backing, I mean, I know what I read, and it's not the first time I've read one of these, but my checkbook would have a hard time swallowing any of this.
The cities might.
Well, that's kind of what I'm curious about. You're talking 681,000. What's the financial picture of the electric department going to look like after that?
Tight. It's going to be tight either way.
If we can use the bond reserve dollars, if the bond council approves that, it's not going to take away from the operating.
Correct.
It's reserve funds set aside for this purpose for bond coverage. It's part of the bond covenant, and that's what we need to have verification from before we can use those funds, but it wouldn't affect the operating budget.
So in other words, there is a reserve available?
1.3.
Well, we have to find that out
Yeah,
for sure,
once
but
we
they're
get-
reserve
we're-
funds.
There's
yeah.
$1.3 million.
Okay.
And we would be assuming that the credited money will make that payment, so that we're not having to dip deeper into your
Right.
budget.
When it's all said and done, if and when we do fix the OP, if that's the route we decide to go, is to buy the cat, fix the OP. The financial reward, all the engines online, is over $430,000 a year in credit payments with the money that RPGI is paying today. We take away, if we take away both of these, and I get the other stuff all certified, which not all of it is, the MTUs are kind of certified, but kind of not.
And certified as part of the fleet.
Yes. But one of them really isn't even counted in it. But if you take basically $120,000 off that 430 financial reward, that's where we would be if we stayed kind of where we're at today. And I got both of the MTUs certified. But right now, they're really not.
But you
that's,
plan to?
I take that back. Yeah, I plan to, yes.
Have them individually certified as
Yep.
opposed to part of the fleet that's limited to a certain number of hours operation per year that we don't want to run into.
And how long would it take to get the cat certified?
6 months to a year, you said.
6 months to a year. I'm thinking, I gotta call David Charles tomorrow and find out where we're at on this with MISO. I haven't heard anything back from him because it's been about 2 or 3 months now. So I haven't heard anything back, so I should call him. I'm gonna call him tomorrow and find out where we're at.
So is the general consensus maybe that I'm hearing is that we move forward with the new gen set contingent on the opinion from the bond council? Does that sound like a fair motion that somebody would like to make?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, so Mr. Leeper has made the first to move that we approve the new gen set and fixing the OP in time contingent on the bond council's ruling that we should have tomorrow. Okay, so Mr. Leeper has made the first,
I'll second.
and Mr. Anderson's made the second.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Okay, so that motion has been approved contingent on tomorrow. And Mr. Long, how will we find that out? We yell yell from the City Hall?
I will be in communication with Lorna, and it will get circulated in that fashion. But again, I will be in tomorrow morning, and I anticipate hearing from him tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you.
And if not, he knows how to find Lorna.
All right, then moving on to the third motion tonight, which is the ambulance assistant director position and comparable wage. Mr. Long?
I will take a stab at it. The director prepared research of this position and provides for you a memorandum with justification for raising the wage of there we go, for the person that takes care of the billing and who also bills in as an on-call EMT operator.
She's a paramedic, Tim.
Pardon?
She's a paramedic.
Paramedic, thank you. And I will say that my experience in Cascade, Iowa, where they inherited or actually purchased an ambulance operation from a local operator and then struggled to continue the collections, they resorted to a service that a lot of small ambulance agencies use, and we're paying upwards of 20 and 25% of all fees captured when the service billed for ambulance pickup and that kind of thing. And it was a really expensive undertaking because they were billing something similar to what Tipton bills, somewhere north of $250,000 a year, and 20% of that is $50,000 all by itself. And while they were obviously competent and effective, it meant that the city of Cascade did not have a person on staff who knew the clientele, got things done effectively, efficiently, and timely as we're currently getting. And it was just money that left the community. Here we have, by all reports, a person who is effectively billing for the operations and is also filling in for EMT calls when there are no volunteers available, which, as the ambulance director reports, is more and more often during the middle of the day because volunteers are hard to come by, or they're working several jobs and are unavailable to respond. So this person provides billing, administrative service, and on-call response. I'm speaking from just a few months' experience and from the conversations that I've had around this. I know that Molly is here and can probably speak more directly to questions that you might have, and there are probably folks here on staff that have more experience with this than I. And so unless there's any specific questions I can answer, I'll defer to questions you may have for others.
What was the fees we were paying to have someone else do all of our billing?
I think it was $27.50 per transport.
Oh, so monthly, we don't know.
It depended on how many calls per month. It was billed per call, and they just billed us monthly for it.
And Molly's doing all that now? All of it. Good job.
And Brett would be here and do a much better job of discussing this, but the Army has called and he has responded for his monthly summer camp.
So how would you want a motion? Do you want it in how many hours we're looking at having her work and the raise in the pay?
As I understand, we are striving to put the position at 30 hours per week, so as to stay below that threshold. And I was looking at Brett's points here.
It says 24 hours has become necessary.
That's what I thought we had talked
Yeah.
about, but
And for
what are you currently
Oh,
working with?
thanks.
It just depends on how many calls I actually go out, since I am
Both.
both right now. It just depends on how many calls I go out on, and then, well, this week it's, this month it's more because I'm acting as manager also, so. I don't think I mean, usually it's probably 25, it depends between 24 and 30 a week.
So is that what Brett's asking for?
No.
No? Did you say no?
I'm agreeing with you. No.
Okay.
So what I would suggest is consideration of the rate of pay and the hourly and the hours per week for council consideration. Necessary to continue, as I see it, the ambulance service in a period of change.
So then do we have a motion to approve this assistant director position and the of wage?
I would make that motion.
It's not a very good sense.
I would make a motion that we increase the hours and the.
That's so much better
the
question.
request.
Do we want to designate it or no? Like 30 hours and $18 or no?
We just need to understand
Not to exceed.
the 30 hours is the cap for benefits.
Yes.
So it has to be below that, or we are required to offer.
Okay.
So the
Medical
motion
insurance.
is to not exceed 30 hours at $18 an hour. Correct.
But I'm hearing, is there a second?
I'll second.
And Spear with the second.
Leeper.
Yes.
McNeil. Boots.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
All right. So that motion got approved. Moving on to the next one, which is Stumbo Art Gallery's chalk sidewalk event on the 4th of July at 501 Cedar. So do you have any questions or discussion on this?
There it is, there's a document from Stumbo Galleries.
Yeah.
W. Stumbo. And his request for council approval to use the sidewalk essentially for that period of time.
Are there any questions? I don't know, I have one for Officer or Chief Kepler. Do you think that we would need to block off the parking spots or anything around there? Since it'd be around the corner of his building?
Would that help with the sidewalk
Oh,
on
there it is.
that side? It wouldn't matter. Yeah, just because 4th of July, we're gonna have a lot of people in town, so it'd be okay with people parking there, it's not gonna impede your.
I didn't see it there, sorry.
I might make a couple of comments.
Definitely, go ahead.
Of course, the primary purpose of this is to get people in the community involved in art projects. And I had a little handout for you, except I failed to take it out of the printer. We do have I don't really call it an application blank, but it serves that purpose. Sidewalk art event, entry form, name, telephone address, rules, design should be 4 feet by 4 feet and rendered in chalk. That's those 4 feet blocks are close to the building.
Okay.
So there's lots of room to
Yep.
move around behind it. I don't think we need to block anything off.
Okay.
2, design should be suitable for public viewing. Decision of sponsor is final. We decided to go with designs and patterns so that we didn't end up with any naked breasts this year. And, well, no, it's more than that, actually. I would like to emphasize designs and patterns. No other city that I know of specializes in that kind of wall painting or sidewalk painting or anything else. Easy for most people to do. Anyone doodles, I'm sure if you doodle, you come up with patterns. So I would like to promote that as a direction. You know, always when you get into these things, something comes up, you want to do it this way or that way. But I would like for that to kind of be adopted, informally of course, as a future direction. 3, sidewalk drawings to be completed by July the 3rd, viewed on the 4th. Now these are done in chalk, and they'll last 2 or 3 weeks depending on the amount of rain we have in July. If for some reason we want to get rid of what's left, if it's all murky, a pressure washer will take that, clean it up really easy, so there's no problem there. I've asked people to submit sketches and drawings, and that's what I have in this little block here. Unfortunately, I kind of jumped the gun. I announced it in the paper before I talked to you about it, so I hope that's not a problem. I had talked to the 2 previous city managers about some of our ideas. It's more informal, of course, and saw no problem. We would like at some point to block off at 5th Street parking spaces and have events there. Now, it's harder to organize these things than I thought. I had hoped we'd be farther along than we are, but I'm patient. I'm young. So I'll wait to see how it goes.
Okay.
If we do proceed with this, I'd like everybody's help in trying to get someone to do one of these blocks for us. Sometimes I can be intimidating, and I think I scare people off. So I do need help in getting volunteers. Anyone can do a doodle of design. That's all that's required. So help me if you can on that.
So where can they pick those up at?
I'll have them over at the gallery on
Okay.
the corner.
Okay.
And I'll have to have some place there where I can.
Mm-hmm.
Now, La Tida and the Fabric Shop also are interested in this, so we would start at La Tida, and every other block, 4-foot block, up next to the building would consist of a drawing.
Okay.
Now, we can come all the way around and down the corner if we need to. I doubt if we have that many people. I've got my family that I've encouraged to threatened a little bit. But we do need more, so be sure to help us if you can.
Definitely. All right. Is there any other questions for Mr. Stumbo?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Is there a motion to approve or deny this? Mr. Anderson with the first?
Second.
And Mr. Leeper with the second?
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
All right then, the motion carries. Moving on to the next one, Mulberry Block Party Street closing from 1st to 2nd Street on July 9th. Is there anyone here to speak to that if we have questions? All right, well, do we have any questions or discussion? Chief Keffer, do you see any issues with this?
No, it's not a through street as far as it's kind of off to the side between 1st and 2nd. Really shouldn't be any.
They've done this before, haven't they?
I believe so.
Yeah.
It's pretty low key.
Yeah. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Spear with the first,
Second.
and Boots with the second.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper? McNeil?
Yes.
All right, motion carries. They have fun. Then to the next one, the drift reimbursement request. for $10,000 for 311 to 315 Cedar Street. Oh, there she is.
This is for Kevin Cochran. It was approved, but what had to happen is Tim and I had to do the final walkthrough after the work was completed. We did do that on May 23rd, and everything Kevin had, and you have a copy, that he had said that was going to happen did happen. So the drip was complete.
Good to know.
That acronym.
If there's no other questions or discussion, a motion to approve.
I will make that motion.
Spear with the first, and McNeil with the second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil? Boots?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the next one.
And I just want to make sure the agenda said 311 to 315. It's actually 311 to 317.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Then the next one, East 5th Street.
Yes. So actually, this is going to be on West 5th Street. Michelle Ford bought Dr. Stronimus's building, and she put in an application to receive DRIP money, which went before the commission at our last meeting with the commission. Michelle wanted to do flooring, and according to the guidelines for this, the square footage, it is the funding allows $5 per square foot of retail space, or $7,500, whichever is less. And her square footage was 785 square feet times $5, which was $3,925. The flooring costs her, it's going to be $4,815. So the commission did approve, with your final approval, of $3,925 for her application of this program. And of course, what will happen is we will have to also go do an inspection to make sure that the flooring was installed when it gets to that point. She's tearing everything up right now. And then I will come back to you with your final approval.
Is there a motion to approve this? Mr. Anderson with the first,
Second.
and Spear with the second.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil? Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Beck. And now to the reports to be received and filed. We have a follow-up analysis of the in-house water and sewer operations.
Two notes of appreciation. One is for the time and support to look at this again and with a different set of eyes. The other is to acknowledge that for 17-some years, Alliance Water Resources has been responsive and responsible stewards of the city's water, sewer, and wastewater plants. They continued that practice even as the city considered last fall to take the operations in-house and we privatize it, as many pilot communities do. And that they have been quite marvelously helpful and assisting with consideration of the transition. And I can't say enough for the interactions that we've had in coming to this point. And Tony really thanked and congratulated two towns. So to the matter of the review, a simple snapshot, I'm going to just summarize from the memo, but a simple snapshot of the projected changes to bring management and operations of the water and sewer plant in-house suggests a minimum savings of $54,405 a year. This we did base on from staff's early look at this. Very conservative assessments, high assessments of costs of operation and new expenses to be incurred as a result of taking this operation over. And I will say that the look affirms, if not to the same degree, early assumptions and projections of savings. And I'll add that bringing the management of the operations of these plants in-house strengthens the city's public works and operations overall by bringing in and retaining professional certified staff that will remain on hand. So I did take spreadsheets that had been prepared and had been presented to you at a couple of meetings back, and I pared them down by removing all of the material that stayed the same, essentially the utility billing portions of the operations, and looking at just the operation areas that we're incurring additional expenses in materials and labor. And those spreadsheets are in your packet and online for anyone to see. And you can see the differences set out in bold on those spreadsheets. So look at the increase in costs. The obvious is the addition of personnel. On the water budget, you have an increase of $38,000 per year. Sewer, the increase is $33,000, and those differences have largely to do with the changes in employee health insurance year to year. You can see from the spreadsheet that both water and sewer budgets carry an allocation of management and billing staff costs as they have for years and as they do in most municipalities across the country. The administrative staff divides their time. That would be the city clerk, the finance director, myself, and others divide their time with across general fund costs and utility costs. So there are already costs that have been built into these operations over time. You're adding essentially an employee and a half. Also noteworthy is that with the addition of Brian Brennan's, a greater portion of Brian Brennan's salary to the water and sewer budgets, there's a corresponding decrease to the public works budgets because there's less of him being allocated to those, to the general fund. Services and commodities, this is obviously the largest contributor to the reduction in cost, with the reduction of the cost paid to Alliance under the contract by $130,425 for water and $145,426 for sewer. Now, we did build in, and actually early on when the staff was doing this assessment, they built in additional costs for engineering and the tune of $6,000 and $15,000 for unspecified, unanticipated consulting costs. That is also built into this set of assumptions. The budget conservatively shows cost increases to building grounds, office, and operational equipment maintenance totaling $20,000. Testing fees and lab costs, which have been a subject of discussion both within the organization and externally and amongst yourselves. Those are up $67,000 to include the chemical sampling equipment, shipping, and outsourced testing services that had been provided over the past year's bylines as part of their service contract. Alliance Water Resources provided for us their in-house analysis that suggests that at one point they've looked at outsourcing and determined that they could do it in-house for a lower cost, for a somewhat lower cost than the city's budget assumption. Their projection was $11,916 versus our budget assumption in this assessment of $18,000. And I have to say I have verbally heard that Alliance plans to contribute at either a very written down cost or at no cost all their lab equipment to the city of Tipton, so that we can retain that equipment, and we will explore bringing those operations in-house and see how that works out for us. There are obviously time and other considerations, but the lab equipment's there. Our person is certified to operate, and the second person is working on his certification almost as we speak. And we do have from the Iowa DNR assurance that we are sufficiently staffed to carry out our own certification at this point, with their encouragement to have a second backup person. The city's 2017 budget also significantly increased operating supplies with an additional $13,900 added across both budgets. And I think from my experience, these estimates are reasonable and conservatively high, so as not to try to overpromise and underdeliver. We are making the worst case assumptions to the best of our knowledge. There's also a significant cost included, which is $30,000 added from the purchase of a replacement service truck. And that entire $30,000 shows up in this year's budget. But if we were to allocate that cost over 5 years, the way a lot of equipment is purchased with the city garage budget here in the city of Tipton, then that immediate impact drops to $6,000, which provides additional annualized savings of $24,000. Finally, finance department balanced the budget by increasing the amount deposited to capital reserve over last year by $28,387 for the water fund and $14,314 for the sewer, a total of $42,700. That's in addition to savings that the city has not been able to obtain in the recent past. So there is some additional funding that's being set aside for capital improvements or potential debt service should it come to that at some point in the future. I wrote some about Alliance's base agreement. I provided you with a copy of that agreement. It's simplicity as opposed to most service agreements. I would have expected something about an inch thick, and the fact that you've been functioning on about 18 pages over the last several years is a testament to the way you folks have worked together. Looking to see if there's anything to summarize. My recommendation is that from the estimates provided, savings in the 2017 budgets, the certifications, background, and experience of city staff, and the potential for savings of enough quantity to begin to fund system improvements. Moving to deprivatize the water and wastewater operations is worth the effort to not issue a follow-up contract to Alliance and to bring the operations back in-house. And if there are questions, suggestions,
I have a few alliances that I read out here. Paragraph 7.2, who becomes responsible if the city removes Alliance for all the operations? How much will the city have to pay for insurance that now Alliance furnishes? How much will it cost the city for warranty insurance, which now is by Alliance? Paragraph 9.1, excuse of performance. How much will the city have to pay if the performance isn't done properly like Alliance has been doing? Wastewater facility characteristics, C1, city will be held responsible. C.2, city becomes liable. And they are not liable now, but they will be if something goes wrong and alliance is in place now. How much are these costs going to be?
Those are included. Insurance costs do not change. We are liable underneath all, despite the contractual agreement with Alliance that if they fail, that they are our agents. And our conversation with our insurance provider is that our insurance costs will not change. In terms of warranty, you have your staff's professional certifications at risk, and the state DNR, who enforces those rules, lands on them and all of us if we fail. That would be the same case, although we have Alliance as a buffer. I think that, and Tony could probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that if we fail terribly, I don't think that we get to skate as a municipality. But Tony, I'm not sure because I've not been in that situation.
No, I think you're right. I think when you said we're still agents of yours, ultimately the city's still responsible. Of course, our insurance and stuff, we cover it, but you checked with that. And Mr. Leaf, I appreciate you asking those questions. Let me just say this. I looked over Tim's numbers, and I think they're all reasonable. I think the plan of attack they have with doing a 1.5 makes sense, and it helps those numbers some. I also think that their willingness to keep the lab open for a while until they have real numbers is good and important. And I had a long talk with our president, who's the 99% owner, so what he says really pretty much goes. It's just as important for us that the transition goes smooth and you continue to be successful. And so every piece of equipment that you need to run it is staying. I mean, we're going to take the truck, obviously. You need to replace it anyway. It's about that time we do driver in. And we have to take our computer. But all the records, plans, I'm going to leave Brian a template that has all the reporting we do to DNR and for the city so that he can continue to do those reports. We're going to make the transition as smooth as possible, and I don't have any doubt that you'll be successful. You know, we're grateful for the time we had here, and if you ever need us again, we'll be there. But we're going to make it so you don't have to worry about it. Brian can call me anytime, call Mark Wild anytime, and so we'll get, because he's already got a schedule to do some shadowing with our Brian, but as he does that, he'll have some questions that pop up. But he may have a question in 3 months that pops up that if we can help with, we will. And so I don't want you to be worried about it. I am happy that he's going to give the lab some consideration, because I think as your permit changes, as it is now to composite samples and stuff, it's important that y'all have that ability. But I think that Steve, they've got a plan, and so I think you're going to be fine. I mean, I really do. They seem very confident in it. And if something happens and you lose operators, you'll be in the same situation. But they're going to do a good job. They've got a good plan for it, and we're not going to abandon it. You know, if you have questions, so it's going to be fine.
Well, thank you for that, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
I appreciate
Your confidence.
Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion to file this report then?
Has it not already been passed?
Right, this is just a file of report that's in.
Accept the report.
To your
To accept the
report?
report,
Right.
yes.
I would so move to accept your report.
Spear with the first,
I'll second.
and Boots with the second.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil, Lewis.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
All right, so that report will be filed. And going down to the reports, I don't really have anything to report. Anybody from the council? Committee? No, fine. Public Works?
Yeah, just briefly, here. McClure's been in town for the last couple months, I guess. Talked to Hayden today. They had 2 crews in town looking at all the manholes, measuring depths. I didn't realize how many we had. 450 altogether, he says, that they've measured and checked. And they had 2 crews doing that, inspecting. We had one guy going around and checking depths and GPSing all of them. They're still collecting from the rain gauges and checking our flow monitors, about 13 of them in different mainline trunks. That's going to go on for another couple, 3 weeks, he says. So that's in process, and we should, in a month or so, have hopefully some fairly detailed reports. I wish they could have been here 2 years ago when we had all the rain and all the I going into the system. But it is what it is, and we're going to get some decent data to work with, I think, in spite of that.
All right.
Questions on any of that? That's all. I just want to share that with you from the clerk.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Nash. Community development? We're good? All right, city manager?
Well, I'm looking forward to the break. I do have all confidence in this council and the staff that I've been experiencing over the past several months. I've told them all that I don't need to hear from everybody on anything unless there is an injury or something burns down. And they all assure me that none of those things will happen. But those folks will collaboratively work to resolve issues and come up with solutions, and we'll work with you as well. And I'll try to send a picture.
Yeah. Great.
And bring back a T-shirt.
All right, and is there a motion to adjourn?
Brian,
Wait.
can I say a couple of things? I didn't give you a report. One of the things that I wanted to say was that Brian and I, from the water department, we had a talk today. And one of the things I don't know if people realize, and this is something I want to make sure that we have covered, is if there is an emergency where all of our distribution system is down on the ground because of ice or something like that, that we still have sewer and water capabilities. Maybe we won't have electricity all through the town, but I want to make sure that we got our water and sewer covered so that we don't have problems there. The sewer department does have a generator. The water department and one well need to have something. We do have a 40 kW generator, or no, it's a 20 kW.
No, it's 40.
It's 40, okay. But it's big enough, it'll run either one of the wells or the water treatment plant. But I can't do both. So we're talking about throwing around some ideas and stuff like that. One of them is, I don't know how big the generator here is, but I was gonna talk to the fire department and some others about seeing about boring from here over there to cover that building too. Then that way it'd free up the generator to go to one of the wells. And we had a fault at the trailer park last weekend, which caused, or 2 weekends ago, that caused a few issues. And there was another call out this past weekend, and I don't remember exactly what it was for, but other than that, that was something. And then we met with Clarence Telephone Company, talking about the Wi-Fi. I think I sent him the map, and I don't know if
He hasn't
we're
gotten
gonna,
back with us yet.
no, I don't know if we were gonna have another get-together or something like that about the downtown Wi-Fi, but I talked to my help a little bit about that. We can put it on the poles, but the issue now is that the only time that street lights come on is at night. The receptacle back behind Keller's Furniture, back in behind there. So, and then touching on so everybody knows about the lights at the library, we're scheduling to fix that, so everybody knows that it hasn't been forgotten. But we're going to tie that in at the project at the same time when Steve goes to pour that sidewalk. And we're gonna put those new decorative lights in up there. We're gonna tie that all in at the same time. So the library lights come on at the same time the rest of the city street lights do on the main drag. So, okay.
All right, thank you, Floyd. Motion to adjourn? So moved. Leifer was first.
Second.
Second.
Hickia? Anderson? Spear?
Yes.
Leifer?
Yes. It is adjourned.
I was just thinking about it.
Thanks, really.